Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have the Petrified Forest. It sounds like a place from Harry Potter, but it's even more grim. The Petrified Forest National Park is located in northeastern Arizona, and it is the home to one of the world's largest and most colorful gatherings of petrified wood. It looks like a place from Elden Ring, a place I would immediately turn around once arriving, cause nope, no thanks. The area was once a tropical forest that existed over 200 million years ago, and over time, the trees became petrified through the process of mineralization. The park also features ancient Native American petroglyphs, the historic Route 66, and a wide range of wildlife and geological formations. But just don't touch anything, okay? One pile of trees in the area got quite famous over the years because those who took pieces began to suffer terrible fates. Bad luck engulfed them, so much so that many have returned the pieces back to this now famous pile in the Petrified Forest. In our number 9 spot today, we have the Pompeii artifacts. Once a flourishing Roman city located near the Bay of Naples in Italy, that was, of course, until 79 AD. Mount Vesuvius erupted, burying the entire city and its inhabitants under layers of ash and pumice. The eruption was so powerful that it wiped out all of the life within a 16-mile radius. Pompeii remained buried and forgotten for almost 1700 years until it was rediscovered in 1748. Today, Pompeii is an archaeological site that offers just a glimpse into ancient Roman life with well-preserved ruins of homes, public buildings, streets, artwork, you name it. And there's a great amount of people who steal from this ancient landmark as well. How to get cursed 101, steal from Pompeii. Alright, didn't work out so well the first time. Tourists would steal fragments of monuments, literally pieces of the city. Yeah, I'll just put this ballista ball on my fireplace. That looks lovely. 100 packages a year got sent to the archaeological superintendent, most of them accompanied with a letter explaining the bad luck that occurred. Don't take things that don't belong to you. Cheers. In our number 8 spot today, we have the Black Orlov Diamond. Also known as the Eye of Brahma, the diamond is believed to have been stolen from a Hindu temple in India and later owned by a Russian princess, Princess Nadia Orlov. According to the legend, again, take this one with a grain of salt, but those who possess the diamond will supposedly face misfortune and tragedy. The diamond's curse is said to have claimed the lives of multiple owners, leading to its nickname, the Curse of the Black Orlov. Today, the diamond is owned by an anonymous collector and is rumored to be worth over $200 million. That is just beyond me. Who would pay that much for a cursed stone? Guy, read a book. No deal. Nope. No thanks. In our number 7 spot today, we have the portrait of Bernardo de Galvez. Art is subjective, but I never knew it was haunted. My gosh, Bernardo de Galvez was a nobleman and military leader who played a significant role in the American Revolution, widely regarded as a hero for his efforts to aid the American colonies in their fight against British rule. Some believe that there is a curse attached to his portrait. According to legend, anyone who looks directly into the eyes of Bernardo's portrait will suffer a terrible fate. The curse was born during the Spanish-American War when American soldiers looted Galvez's home in Louisiana and took his portrait as a trophy. Again, how to get cursed 101. Why do we do this? Since then, several people who have come into possession of the portrait or stared deep into the portrait's eyes, which is weird, they have experienced misfortune. One man inherited the portrait from his grandfather and hung it in his home. Not long after this, he lost his job and his wife left him, and the painting saw the entire thing and laughed. Another tale involved a museum curator who displayed the painting and suffered a heart attack soon after. Even those who have seen photographs of the portrait claim to feel uneasy or experience strange occurrences. Should have led with that. Whoops, sorry. Ooh. In our number 6 spot today, we have James Dean's car. James Dean's love for fast cars was well known, sadly because one of them ultimately led to his tragic death at the age of 24. Some are convinced that his car was cursed. Dean's first car, a Triumph Tiger T110 motorcycle, was involved in an accident that left him with a broken leg. His next car, a Porsche 550 Spyder, is the one he famously died in after colliding head-on with another vehicle. That's already tragic. That's dark history right there. But after Dean's death, the Porsche was sold off and quickly became infamous for causing more accidents and death. One of its owners even reported seeing James Dean's ghost sitting in the passenger seat shortly before crashing. That's pretty jarring. The car disappeared from public view in the late 1960s and has since been rumored to be hidden away by collectors who believe it to be cursed. So it's out there somewhere, waiting to be driven again. Another Porsche he owned was destroyed when it caught fire while being transported on a trailer, and a third Porsche he had ordered never made it to him. It was involved in an accident during transport that killed the driver. Whether you believe in curses or not, there's no denying that James Dean's car collection has a dark and tragic history. In our number 5 spot today, we have the Dybbuk box. This small wine cabinet got some attention after being sold on eBay in 2003. The box was purchased by Kevin Mannis shortly after he claimed that the box was haunted and had caused him and his family to experience a series of terrifying events, health problems, and even a little paranormal activity, of course. He eventually sold the box to Jason Haxton, who ended up writing a book about his experience. Yeah, it was that bad. Some believe that opening the box can release malevolent spirits into the world. Its origins go back to a woman who survived World War II, and this came from her estate. The box now lives at the Haunted Museum, and remember that viral video of Post Malone touching that haunted artifact? Yeah, that was this box. Zach Bagans, please keep an eye on this box. Thanks so much. Smash that thumbs up for ghost-proof glass. We love that, okay? Nobody should be able to touch the haunted artifacts at your museum. That's irresponsible. Gotta sign a waiver first. In our number 4 spot today, we have the Bazzano vase, also known as the Vase of Death. I don't know who would want that. Legend has it that this vase was crafted in Italy during the 15th century and was once owned by a powerful noble family. Tragedy struck though when several members of the family died under mysterious circumstances. At that point, curse confirmed, right? The curse of the Bazzano vase is said to cause anyone who possesses it to suffer from physical and mental afflictions, sometimes even bringing death. Despite its reputation as a cursed object, some are fascinated. They want the Bazzano vase. They want to crack the code, break the curse, who knows what they want. A pharmacist and archaeologist, both of these owners died shortly after receiving the vase. The Italian police apparently have it buried in a lead box somewhere, and that's gonna suck when we find it in 500 years, a horrible time capsule. In our number 3 spot today, we have Thomas Busby's chair. Haunted chair. Who would have thought? Legend has it that this chair was cursed by a vengeful witch who had been wronged by one of the members of the Busby family in the 1800s. Yeah, she cursed a chair. Now it slides out by itself. It's terrifying. The curse was said to bring misery and misfortune to anyone who dared sit in the chair, so better lock those knees up. We're squatting today. Over the years, many brave souls attempted to break the curse by sitting in the chair, only to be met with tragedy. I'll be honest, I would sit on it. I would just have a couple pints and I'm ready to go. Alright? Cursed chair, come on, who curses a chair? A witch. Some suffered from unexplainable illnesses, while others were plagued by nightmares. One man even claimed that he saw ghostly apparitions floating around him after sitting in the chair. Despite its reputation, the Thomas Busby chair remained an object of fascination for many paranormal enthusiasts. It was eventually acquired by the Thirsk Museum, dedicated to supernatural artifacts, where it remains on display to this day. In our number 2 spot today, we have the Anguished Man. Alright? The haunted item. This isn't a list of haunted items without the Anguished Man. I mean, first of all, aside from its dark history, who would be able to look at this? Imagine this on your wall. That's from The Conjuring. That's terrifying to look at. The Anguished Man is a painting with history. It is said to be haunted by the spirit of the artist who created it, a man who mixed his own blood into the paint as he worked. Yeah, real artsy guy. Love doing that. The painting has been passed down through generations of the artist's family, but each owner has reported strange occurrences while in possession of the haunting piece. Some have claimed to hear whispers and moaning coming from the painting late at night, which is the scariest thing I could possibly imagine, while others have just seen ghostly apparitions out and about, just walking around the painting. Like Super Mario 64, just a real life painting. Would you spend a night with this painting? I'm a skeptic when it comes to all things paranormal, but I just don't think I'm ready to take that risk. In our number 1 spot today, we have Robert the Evil Doll. A man named Rob Otto was given a doll that looked a lot like him. One of his servants who didn't like him made the doll. Yeah, you already know where I'm going here. This was a voodoo doll. right? This is obviously a trap. Neighbors would hear Robert talking to this doll. Robert and Robert the podcast tune in. Now, after Robert's death, the new owners of the house found that same doll in the attic. Still there. Well, actually their daughter found it. It was pretty jarring. That family was haunted by this doll and they would hear threats coming from it. So now the doll is on display at a museum in Key West.
Kicking off our list at number 10, a cursed phone number. The song 867-5309/Jenny has been stuck in my head for about 18 years now. It's a classic. That song is a banger. Great jingle too. Imagine if a pizza place figured that number out first. Would have been game over. A cursed phone number. What are we talking about here? This phone number, apparently cursed, is 359-888 and then a bunch of 8s afterwards, okay? What's the deal here? Anybody who's had this phone number in the last 20 years or so, apparently they've all met their fate in a weird way. CEO of a Bulgarian phone company, he got cancer at 48. And then 2 criminals later on, both of their deaths were a little bit more mysterious than cancer. All these deaths that happened were within 4 years of each other. That's the, curse aspect of it all. The phone number was suspended, so nobody's able to use it now. Maybe it was a cursed number, or maybe the number had ties to crime. 867-5309 is still stuck in my head. Number 9. The organ. Music is said to bring life into the room, but this time it's a bit too literal for my liking. There is a real organ in the Occult Museum. This belonged to Ed and Lorraine Warren for quite a while, the paranormal investigators. Of course, all these things are found in a haunted house. In one way or another, it's haunted or cursed, as are all these in this list. This organ apparently would play by itself throughout the night. In total, there were 3 different incidents where Ed thought somebody had broken into the museum because he heard the organ being played, but by the time he arrived in a panic, the room was empty. Classic. Nothing had been touched, there was no visitors. Of course, it was just a cursed piano. Nice. A priest then came to bless the museum and the music eventually stopped. But before her passing, Lorraine Warren said to USA Today that the prayers do work, and they blind the evil much like an electric fence does for a dog. Number 8. Photograph of Bathsheba Sherman. You always see these videos of UFOs and they're filmed with like a BlackBerry curve. It's just rubbish, it's horrible quality. There's never clear evidence of anything nowadays, right? But we may just have a clear photo with the real Bathsheba Sherman, the witch in the original Conjuring film, that real person in real life. Yeah, we have a real photo of a real witch. This is crazy. This photo is from the Perrin family farmhouse back when it was still the Arnold estate. This was 1885, so the witch was most likely in her 70s at this time, and this witch lived next door to said farm, and although we'll never really know for sure, many believe she's the lady in the middle closest to the camera. Also, the fact that she's wearing some sort of mask and she's standing by herself and looks like a witch, I don't know, definitely her, most definitely her. I feel like nobody wants to stand next to a literal witch, It's like a big radius around her. That's how you know it's her. Imagine doing a silly one with Bathsheba Sherman. You're like, hey, bunny ears, don't curse me. Number 7, the Bassano vase. This vase comes from the 15th century. It was made for an excellent wedding gift, but the night before, the bride sadly lost her life with the vase still in her hands, so a lot of questions, right? The family of course kept it afterwards, but as the vase was passed down the family line, a pattern began to unveil itself. Whomever held possession of the Bassano vase died shortly after in a weird way. Now keep in mind, this was the 15th century, okay? The average lifespan was already 30 to 40 years old. But after this many deaths in the family, it was packed away for good, okay? Or so they thought. This vase showed up again in history in 1988 alongside a single note. The note was pretty to the point. It said, "Beware, this vase brings death." End of note. Whoever found it was like, okay. And then continued on with it. Yeah, they kept the vase, didn't heed the warning, and then it was auctioned for over $2,000 sans note. Yeah, the pharmacist who won the auction, well, you guessed it, they passed away within months. Number 6, ghost boots. These boots are made for haunting, and that's just what they'll do. Yeah, I put a pair of boots on this list. That's where we're at now. Let's do it. This is a photo of a young lady and it may look like a classic family trip, but upon closer inspection, it seems like somebody is standing behind her. Now, of course, tracing this photo back to its origins, her father said nobody was behind her at this time, that it was taken, because that would be pretty weird, right? Hey, stand right here in an open field, thanks. Hey, can you move please? There's an open field. Thanks. It's a little weird. This shot was taken at Zushi Kanagawa in Japan. You can see boots and what looks like clothing sticking out from behind her elbow. Father said, "I took a few photos. When I was looking through them at night, I noticed the boots behind her. I took several in the same spot, but only one of these photos had the boots." Yeah, you always see that in movies, right? They're always going through these photos at night at like 2 a.m. Then they find something scary. It's never at Walmart in the middle of the day. You know what I mean? It's always scary in a dark kitchen. Ugh. What would you do? I would freak out. And he freaked out, obviously. He showed a friend, and then said friend posted it on Reddit, hence why we're here now. Haunted boots. The more you know. Number 5. The Anguished Man. Historical paintings are cool. I guess. I don't know, they're pretty interesting. But this is the first time I've read up on the Anguished Man myself, and I wish I didn't, to be honest. It's pretty unsettling. It's now considered one of the most haunted objects in the world, and it looks like the part 2. It looks like it's from a horror movie. This oil painting was created by, of course, an unknown artist, but the actual paint here used in the painting is mixed with blood, real blood. Their legit DNA is in this painting, whoever it is. Their blood, sweat, and tears. Great. Not much is known of the artist as they passed away shortly after, but the current owner is Sean Robinson from Cumbria, England. His grandmother had given him said painting. There wasn't much known beforehand. Maybe she just found it at an auction, whatever. But his grandmother did warn him that it was cursed. Yeah, here's some Werther's original, and also here's a cursed painting. Enjoy. Sean had to leave it in his basement at first because his wife wasn't on board. More than fair. I'd be like, no, can we not? Can we turn it around? Thanks. But when the basement randomly flooded, he had to move it upstairs at that point, which is already pretty creepy. Now after, the couple heard crying or screams or whispering, things you don't want to hear alone in a house with a haunted painting coming from the room with the painting. It got so bad Robinson uploaded time-lapse footage to YouTube in 2011, and it shows the door closing by itself next to the painting. Also, yeah, keep this in the basement or flood it, I don't care. I agree with the missus here. Number 4. Music box. We had to include one of the creepiest elements of the Conjuring movie because it's a real thing. Director James Wan wanted to use the music box in the first film because, you know, mirrors and creepy tones make for great suspense and all that jazz. But this was also a real haunted artifact from the real haunted house. Today the box is safely stored in the Warren's Occult Museum, like I mentioned before, just a fun house of scary that you should definitely never touch, alongside other items that look more or less normal, right? One of which is the real Annabelle doll. This part of the movie actually scared the shit out of me. Any mirror scene, I can't do it. I end up eating my hoodie. They always do it slow too. I hate movie scenes that include mirrors. But this is real life though, you can't forget that. This music box actually caused a lot of trouble for these poor girls. Specifically April, youngest of the Perrin family. She found this unique antique in the house and then she used it to communicate to another spirit. A spirit that just happened to be named Rory. Yeah, it's a great haunted name, Rory. Nice, it's not friendly at all. In the movie, this was a happy ending, whatever, but in real life, the Bathsheba Sherman case was never resolved. Number 3, the Hope Diamond Curse. Coming from the 1660s, here we go. This curse began when a gem dealer named Jean-Baptiste Tavernier bought this large diamond when visiting India. Or so he said, he bought it. The origins of the diamond were unknown, but it didn't matter. This beauty was just sitting there. Well, later on, after he got the diamond, rumors started spreading throughout Europe and the United States that Tavernier actually stole the diamond from a statue of a Hindu goddess. Yeah, that sounds a little more on the nose. That's a bit more accurate. A little different than his story, but sadly, a little more believable. The newspapers actually kicked this one off by publishing the Hope Diamond as an ancient curse. That ought to help, right? That spreads the word, I guess. The diamond at one point ended up in the hands of King Louis XVI and his wife, Marie Antoinette. Now, if you don't know about them, they were, they had some rough history happen with their heads being off their body and stuff. They lost their lives during the French Revolution, to say the least. The guillotine dream team, that's what we call them. The stone then went to Lord Francis Hope come 1839, and by that point it was deemed cursed. This is when it got the name the Hope Diamond, right? They ended up selling said diamond shortly after being reduced to poverty, and then Evelyn Welsh McLean bought the stone in 1912. Shortly after that, her son was killed in a car accident. When the stone was delivered to its final and current home, the Smithsonian, back in 1958, the driver who was delivering the package was later hit by a truck. Now he survived, but shortly after his house caught fire. Moral of the story, you don't need diamonds, for more reasons than one. Number 2, the Busby Stoop Chair. Coming from 1702, 10 years after the Salem witch trials, so take this one with a grain of salt, people made odd choices back then, okay? Women were witches because they knew math, and chairs were evil. Welcome to 1702, good luck. Englishman Thomas Busby had some issues with his father-in-law. He didn't handle them well, so now he had to be hanged for it. Yeah, he can't commit crimes to resolve problems. It's not a good thing. Can't just kill people for no reason, Thomas. What is this, 1692? He was hanged near the Humble Inn, which is an ironic name, but a chair that was nearby is now said to hold the spirit of one Thomas Busby. If you sit on this chair, you are set to die in a frightful accident. So the chair was declared haunted, but did anything actually happen? Yeah, locals say during World War II, airmen from a nearby base came to the pub, and those who sat on it never returned. And then in the 70s, more accidents were connected, but they still kept it around until 1978. Yeah, it stayed in the inn for that long, until it was donated to the Thirsk Museum. It's not even a rocking chair either. It looks like it should be a rocking chair, but it's not a rocking chair. That's the scariest part in my opinion. You try and lean back, you're like, oh, I really thought it was gonna rock there. Damn, it's disappointing. And finally, number 1, a ghost caught in a photograph. Yeah, this one ought to end the list in a pretty bizarre way. Doesn't matter where or when, but odds are you've seen this photo at some point in your life. You know when you see a photo, sometimes you just get bad vibes, like it registers in your brain as something scary but also real. Like you want to find something that looks fake about this photo, but it's tough. This photo was taken inside the Amityville house in 1976. It's a young lad with glowing white eyes, kind of hard to miss. It was taken with automatic cameras equipped with infrared, and it makes it even creepier that the boy looks like he's peeking around the corner. Nice, just hiding from you in his invisible ghost land. We love it. A photographer named Gene Campbell took this photo, and Gene at the time was working with paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren. This photo was revealed 3 years after it was taken on the Merv Griffin show, and many believe this is the ghost of one John DeFeo, one of the boys who lived there prior to that 1974 event. Yeah, we're still trying to figure this out. What do you guys think? Elaborate hoax, or perhaps this is one solid piece of evidence that the Amityville house is indeed haunted and ghosts are indeed real? Kicking off our list at number 10, the Indian red scorpion. Scorpions are underrated. We always talk about spiders or snakes or whatever. How about scorpions? How about somewhere right in the middle? These things are like lobsters mixed with snakes, mixed with spiders. It's terrible. If you live in a place that has scorpions, I'm so sorry. Indian red scorpions are of course found in India, and they're also found in Nepal, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, and they're the most venomous out there of the entire species. So if you see this one specifically, run. The fatality rate here is around 40% if you get bit by one of these, so it's about 50-50. That's fun. You'll know if it's an Indian red scorpion because you'll start to sweat like crazy. You'll probably throw up immediately. You may or may not start convulsing right off the bat, and most likely your body will just shut down and you'll pass out. So if any of that happens, yeah, it's probably the Indian red scorpion. Their venom is potentially groundbreaking. You see, scientists are figuring out a way to fight cancer with it as we speak. So yeah, it's like, just gotta fence with the thing first, stay very far away, and then we might solve cancer. I don't know. Would you fight a scorpion to cure cancer? Comment down below. Number 9, Jimson Weed. Sounds like the name of a small town auto mechanic. Yeah, it's Jimson Weed over there. Sounds like a nice dude. Well, in reality, Jimson Weed is a very mean old man. You don't want to talk to this guy at all. The Jimson Weed flower is white or violet, and it often looks pretty harmless. And growing up to 5 feet tall, it's gonna catch your eye. It's gonna bop out. You're gonna see it at some point. Now, the seed pod in the middle, it looks like something Bowser's minions would throw at you. It's terrifying. It's a spiky little seed pod. It looks evil, right? This is your sign. Avoid this plant, and also don't breathe around this plant. I know, just hold your breath and then run away. That's all you have to do. Don't inhale Jimson Weed. That's a bad strain, my friends. It's a terrible strain. This plant can cause hallucinations, seizures, breathing problems, and your heart will speed up like crazy. It's named after Jamestown weed because back in 1676, British soldiers got too close to the plant and they ended up hallucinating for 11 days straight. It was also reported that they grinned like monkeys and they were kissing each other. Yeah, so that's why you don't eat this plant. You'll end up kissing all your homeboys. Fun fact, this grows in southern Ontario, aka where I am right now. This weed grows behind our studio in the summertime. I see it every year and I get so scared. So if I'm ever in here hallucinating, you know I f***ed up on my break. That's what happened. Number 8, the Carolina Reaper. Yeah, this one's real hot. This one's real hot. I don't do well with peppers, so kudos if you do it. Yeah, I'm throwing hot peppers on this list. Why not? Do you know what happens if you touch a Carolina Reaper and then you accidentally make contact with your eyeball? It's not great, I'll tell you that for free. It's officially the world's hottest pepper. The Carolina Reaper is 200 times more intense than that of a jalapeno pepper. So if you're having nachos and you get one of those stuck on the bottom of a chip, yeah, it's that by, that times 200. It's horrible. I would faint, I can't do it. If you eat one of these peppers, headaches will linger for a while as well. Measuring in the Scoville heat units, it's up in the 2 million. So if you're one of those Scoville guys, now you know the stats. Peppers like the scorpion pepper, for example, that falls just underneath it. This is still top dog, right? Now, of course, you can touch these peppers if they're handled properly. They add a nice little spicy flavor to your meal, all that good stuff, but if you handle it improperly, you're gonna be patting your eyes with cloths full of milk. That's what you don't wanna do right there. One user from Reddit shared their experience after barely touching a pepper and then rinsing their hands with water. They almost went blind because of this. So yeah, wash them twice. Wash up twice. Number 7, the rosary pea. Anything that starts with the, you know it's bad news. Well, the good news here is that the rosary pea doesn't look like something that you want to eat, unlike deadly nightshade berries. That looks delicious. It looks like a ladybug. It's all red, it's got a black spot on the top. It looks kind of evil. It looks like something the devil himself would offer you. Just a scary red pea. No one wants that. I don't like green peas, let alone red ones. Fuck that. Eating just one of these peas can cause death. Just like that, just like a poison. The rosary pea has been the culprit in many jewelry makers' deaths, believe it or not. See, this pea was often used as a bead due to its mesmerizing natural colors, draws the eye in, really gets your attention. But what would happen is while they were poking a hole through the pea, sometimes the needle would slip and poke a finger or two. Now, normally this is just another day for somebody into the arts and crafts, but the poison would then enter your bloodstream, and then at that point, that's a wrap. Like I said about the berries earlier, if you're not sure, just walk away. Don't just sniff random bushes. Don't lick any weird rocks. Don't eat any strange berries. Do I have to tell you this? Please. Number 6, yew. Yeah, it literally has the word ew in it, so you shouldn't forget this one. Yew equals ew. It's also referred to as ground hemlock. A little less fun, but despite how they look, these aren't even berries. They're cones almost, or they're bells. Either way, they look poison. They don't look appetizing, which is great. The main toxin that we're playing with here when it comes to yew is Taxol. Now, Taxol is commonly used in chemotherapy. Pretty powerful stuff. Right now, we're at the point where we're making Taxol in a lab because their populations haven't exactly sprung back into action yet. So yeah, lab-made toxic bells. Stay away. Please, please. If you ingest Taxol, you're moments away from experiencing hypothermia, seizures, respiratory failure, and you may just enter a coma. Yeah, it only takes half a gram of these flat-pointed needles to take you out. The more you know. I like these knowledge lists here on B. It's like, hey, don't touch or eat any of this. All right, have fun out there. Number 5, stonefish. This next one is great at disguising itself, so good luck out there, folks. The stonefish, he's a spiny dude. Now, each of its 13 spines also happen to be filled with venom. So if you're taking a late night dip, watch out for rocks that are blinking at you. You want to avoid those ones. The other ones are fine. Those ones that are doing this with the spikes, nah, those ones suck. These fish look angry all the time, and I don't blame them. At least an octopus is cute, you know what I mean? What the hell is this? Is that even a fish? Its venom is lethal to humans, so if you're watching this and you're a human who lives in, you guessed it, Australia, shout out to Bridget, you better wear steel-toe boots to the beach because these guys are just sitting there waiting. Stonefish don't use their venom to hunt. They only shoot venom out of their spines if pressure is applied to them. So yeah, they're lazy. They just lie there and wait for someone else to bump into them, like that big guy at the mall that we don't like. That's like walking in a minefield. I'm glad I know this. I wish I didn't know this, but I'm glad that I do. Number 4, deadly decor. Throughout history, many ancient civilizations use creative ways to color their clothing or to paint buildings or tombs, whatever, you name it. Nowadays, we can pick the exact shade we want to fill in a family room, and we can see how the room's gonna look online on our iPad before we even touch a paintbrush. It's honestly bull. But back in the day, they barely even knew about the toxic fumes they were inhaling the entire time. Like white lead, for example. Not that great in the lung department. Around 2,500 years ago, humans produced this color, right? It was one of a kind. It was one of the earliest examples of pigmentation. Pretty big deal. Hey, this guy made color. How sweet is that? It's mentioned back in the 3rd century by philosophers, and you'd create it by mixing metallic lead with vinegar. Now, the fine lead shavings dissolve into the strong vinegar, then it's dried, sifted, and then mixed again with even stronger vinegar, and then it's dried up in the sun. And then you can start painting. How exhausting is that? Now, European painters use this white lead, but once it's inhaled, ingested, or even makes direct skin contact, then you'd experience muscle pains and spasms, and blood pressure would skyrocket. And of course, you'd get extreme headaches, and you couldn't finish painting your wall, which is honestly the worst tragedy of them all. Number 3, comb stars. Ocean life is by far the scariest thing out there. Olivia and I are going on vacation in a few days, and I'm scared of starfish. That's what I'm thinking about right now. We have no idea what's in our oceans. We discover some crazy shit down there every single year. Some deep sea fish with bioluminescence, they look like they're aliens. I don't know. Some are aliens, some are weird looking, others are natural predators. Like the comb star, for example, a starfish that naturally contains tetrodotoxin, which is this deadly neurotoxin that can immediately cause paralysis. Yeah, and that's starfish. Who knew? Imagine having this guy in Finding Nemo. Would not get a sequel. That would definitely not get a sequel. Movie would be 13 minutes flat. Per every gram of comb star flesh, there's enough toxin to take out 500 mice. And no, we don't have an antidote for that yet. Where was this back in the Black Plague? All those rats? Just saying, would have been a hell of a fight. Number 2, polonium. This radioactive metalloid is extremely rare. That's pretty lucky. Unless you're Homer Simpson or you work in a radiation plant, I don't think you're gonna be seeing any glowy substance anytime soon near your persons. Polonium is used primarily as a heat source to an atomic level. It glows bright blue because it's so strong that it actually excites the air molecules surrounding it. See, unlike acid, the particles in polonium don't have enough power to actually get through your skin, so you can, grab it and dance around with it like Homer does, but it's still very radioactive. 1 gram of polonium produces the same amount of radiation as 5 kilograms of radium. That's not great. This element is 250,000 times more toxic than cyanide. 1 gram can take out 10 million people. 10 million people. A real-life use of this element was used against the former spy Alexander Litvinenko. Just a trace amount was slipped into his tea, and then he suffered for 23 days before eventually horribly passing away. Yeah, worst English breakfast ever. No tip. And finally, number 1, the blue-ringed octopus. I told you that he was cute, right? But don't do this. Do not do what you're about to see. Do not pick up a small, squishy, blue-ringed octopus. In fact, just don't even look at them. Just go away. The blue-ringed octopus is commonly found in coastal waters of Australia and Japan, and sometimes they're not even in the water. Sometimes the influencers got them and they're showing everyone at the beach. Hey, come poke it, see what happens. Don't do that. I'm here to tell you, never do that. They use their tentacles to walk along the ocean floor. They're fast, and they can move in small crevices, so you won't even see them coming. And ideally, that's where you want them to stay. Not in the palm of your hand. Not like that. They're dazzling, but they're deadly. The blue-ringed octopus is lethal enough to take out 26 adults. They pack quite a punch, and again, they're tiny. You'll have no idea. They're filled with 2 different types of venom. Imagine that, 2 for the price of 1. How fun. The first can kill their prey easily, no questions asked, and the other can be used as a defense. Either way, this encounter is bad news. Not something you want to experience on any level. They don't get very large either, so keep an eye out. Again, stonefish, rocks that blink, squishy octopus that'll kill you. Just wear your water shoes, that's all I'm saying. Kicking off the list at number 10, new tombs. Fresh off the press, folks, Egypt announced only yesterday. Egypt, they announced it, yeah, just all of them as a whole. Egypt announced only yesterday that they have discovered 5 ancient tombs in Saqqara. This is fresh news, this is brand new, only a few people know about this. These tombs date back to the time of the Old Kingdom, around 2700 to 2200 BC, so yeah, they're a touch old. The 5 tombs were found northeast of the Pyramid of Menir, a 6th dynasty structure. Now these tombs clearly belonged to a group of people with high value. They were obviously officials. Mustafa al-Waziri, head of Egypt's Supreme Antiquities Council, has since released additional information on who the tombs belong to. How fun is that? That's how fast we're getting to the bottom of this already. This happened like yesterday, and we already know who's in the tombs? Okay, great work. The first one belonged to an ancient official named Iri. There's a deep burial shaft that leads down to a chamber filled with funerary decorations, offering tables, the 7 oils. It looked completely untouched. Well, it was. And of course, there was also a limestone sarcophagus. Can't have a tomb without a sarcophagus or 2. Number 9, Queen Nerit. Just over a year ago, the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities announced the discovery of Queen Nerit, the wife of one King Teddy. Yeah, here we go, aka the first pharaoh of Egypt's 6th dynasty. They found her burial shaft. There were coffins, of course mummies, artifacts, all dating back to the New Kingdom, meaning the Saqqara necropolis was used in the late period, but now apparently it was also used in the New Kingdom as well. That's the news to us. Perhaps the most questionable find was a 4-meter long scroll. That was the 17th chapter of the Book of the Dead. Yeah, nothing like finding a chapter of your favorite book. You're like, where's the rest? Let's find them. It's like a National Treasure movie, only haunting. As well as funerary masks, miniature boats, and 50 coffins. A lot of coffins in this one. Again, this is the first time 3,000-year-old coffins were found in the Saqqara necropolis. This is huge. Number 8, mummified lion cub. Back in 2019, Secrets of the Saqqara Tomb was released, and honestly, what a weekend that was. That was a good time. I remember that one. If you haven't checked it out, I implore you to do so. Officials discovered a 4,400-year-old tomb that belonged to a man named Wache at the Saqqara necropolis. This was pretty close to Cairo, only 30 kilometers away, so you can only imagine this commute ages ago and how beautiful it must have been. This tomb was full of incredible artifacts, mummified animals even. There was a lion cub and over 3,000 ancient artifacts. A lot of stuff, jam-packed this one. When digging up our past, it's tricky because you don't want to ruin any funerary decorations and anything like that and be disrespectful, but you also want to know who these people were. We want to know about our history, what happened, what they stood for before their passing, and why they were so important in the first place. Wache and his family remains were studied, and it appears malaria claimed the lives of him and his entire family. This is also the first mummified cub we've ever found in history, so as far as findings go, this one was jam-packed with history. Number 7, King Tut's artifacts. The new Grand Egyptian Museum was set to open in 2018, and then finally it did come 2021. And while that's quite recent, the contents displayed inside certainly are not. For the first time in history, King Tut's ancient belongings, all of them, all the artifacts discovered with him, will be on display. See, prior to this museum being open, we only saw around 150 artifacts from his tomb. They all took pieces on tour, a big Egyptian mummy tour, you know. There's like Kiss's final reunion tour, then also King Tut's. You're like, oh, who do I see? Ooh. But now this museum, this grand museum, will house thousands of artifacts. That's over 7,000 square meters as well, might I add. What a display this is. If you have a chance to visit the Grand Egyptian Museum, or if you saw this King Tut World Tour, I'm jealous. I'm very jealous. We have one museum in Toronto, but it's, you know, the Egypt section there is. Number 6, engraved warnings. It's a part 3, so of course we have to include some Paris catacomb creepiness. Yeah, as far as old tombs go, that one's pretty haunting, I'd say, no? These catacombs date back to the late 1700s. Not so ancient, but give me a break, okay? It's part 3, I'm doing my best. When the city's cemeteries were starting to fill up, and I mean that in a literal sense, officials began moving contents from all over to these abandoned mines. The catacombs were opened officially in 1809. What a fun family excursion that must have been. Nice. That or the Wax Museum. They're like, let's take the kids this way. Let's go this way. They designed the catacombs with the walls of skulls to ensure that visitors would meditate on death. That's the whole vibe. Let's go meditate and think about death for a bit in the walls of skulls. Yeah, I'm sure everybody who visits thinks of nothing else. Pretty confident there. In order to ensure this was the vibe of the room, there's a phrase carved above the entrance, and it translates to, "Stop, this is the empire of the dead." I would be like, okay, no problem. Number 5, necklace from Egyptian afterlife. We're all curious what happens after you die, right? But nobody celebrates the end of your days like the ancient Egyptians. They go hard. They really go for it. Like I mentioned earlier, they would paint doors, leave valuables. Any new tomb we discover has thousands of artifacts, hints rather to what lies beyond. An ancient necropolis was discovered only a few years ago in, of course, Egypt, and it contains dozens of coffins and a necklace that holds a message from the afterlife. Okay, now we're talking. This site is around 2,000 years old, and they're in the process of excavating it right now as we speak. But so far, the tombs and artifacts found belong to an ancient priestess. Nice. A message from the afterlife is pretty spectacular. We want that, we want that. Don't let Rose from Titanic near that one, or else you know what she'll do with the necklace. You know what she likes doing. Number 4, bone compass. Okay, just because we've been talking about graves does not mean these messages or anything have to be written or drawn. Sometimes it can be as simple as leaving animal bones on the ground. Yeah, that ought to speak for itself more than any art. If you see that, you're on your way. I'm not gonna be grave robbing if there's a big old pile of bones oddly placed. What do you guys like, White Walkers, Game of Thrones? What is this? This is terrifying. In St. Augustine, for example, the remains of a donkey were found buried underground. Judging from the skull, it had been clearly hunted down by humans at the time. That's not the weird part here. The weird part is that all these bones have been carefully separated. There's no marks to suggest that any tools were used, so gross, for one, but researchers believe that this wasn't even used for food. The limbs were placed to point north and south. They used this donkey as a compass. How rude is that? Donkeys in the area of Florida in the 17th century, that's not bizarre at all. But the way these bones were laid out, something's afoot here. What's the message here? I mean, obviously besides that way's north. Is there any other message if that? Or were people just bored back in the day? Number 3, mythical carvings. Back in 2014, a 17-year-old cemetery was discovered along the Silk Road, which are these ancient trade roads, ancient highways rather, connecting China and the Roman Empire. In the city of Kucha, now northwest China, this cemetery was found along with 10 ancient tombs, one of which was referred to as M3. All these tombs get their cool nicknames like KB55, that's pretty good. M3, short. Sounds very British. M3, sounds like a British secret agent. M3 didn't have any haunting messages this time around, but it did contain several carvings of mythical creatures. Some creatures that don't even exist. There's a white tiger of the west, the black turtle of the north, the vermilion bird of the south, so far so recognizable, and then there's the azure dragon of the east. Could this mean that dragons are very real? Were very real? Are? I vote R. Please be real. These mythical carvings represent different seasons in the heavens, but what could the other 6 carvings even mean? Maybe the depictions of hell? Number 2, chalk drum. Deemed one of the most important pieces of prehistoric art, this chalk drum is 5,000 years old. It was first discovered by archaeologists in England back in 2018. It was found with the remains of 3 humans. It was featured in the World of Stonehenge exhibition. It sounds like an instrument, but really this chalk drum was used as an art piece. Almost like all of our drum sets from when we grew up. I'm like, oh, we don't actually play that, it's just for show. Yeah, I can't do anything on it. That guitar too, can't play that, just for show. Maybe time of your life if you're lucky, on a good day, but for the most part, for show. British Museum project curator recalls the findings as remarkable, of course. This was the artistic language throughout the British Isles 5,000 years ago. Radiocarbon dates back to 2890 BC, around the same time of the construction of Stonehenge. So yeah, pretty old. A chalk ball and bone pin were also found at the site, so again, pretty loaded discovery. And finally, coming in at number 1, Celtic warrior shield. This one was referred to as the most important British Celtic art object of the millennium, which, not a bad title at all. An Iron Age chariot burial was discovered in Yorkshire a few years ago, and researchers were excavating a house development originally in Pocklington, and then they find a soldier's tomb. Nice. Also, what's the asking price? The soldier was laid on a chariot with a Celtic shield over top. The shield was dated back to 175 BC. See, most Iron Age shields up until this point didn't have scalloped edges, but this one did. Yeah, we thought metal shields were used only for ceremonies, but this one has been repaired. There are clear sword marks. It had been used many a times in battles. My arm gets tired in class if I raise it for too long, you know? I have to like do the old switcheroo or like hold it up, one of these. This guy was holding a metal shield up all day long. Are you kidding me? I'm gonna go do 1,000 push-ups now and fix that light that I moved when I did that hand bit. Number 10. The Dybbuk box. Okay, we'll start this list off with a DIY. Yeah, here we go. This is why you should never, ever make your own Ouija board. Don't even think about it. In Jewish folklore, a Dybbuk is an evil spirit. A Jewish survivor who made it through all the horrors of World War II and everything. The legend has it that said survivor managed to trap a demon inside of a wine cabinet. Now that on its own is terrifying. So now what? What do you do? What do you do with a locked away demon? Well, that's where Kevin Mannis comes in. Yeah, Kevin bought the box in 2001, and as soon as he bought the box, he had these vivid nightmares. Nightmares of an old witch, and his friends who hung out with him also had the same nightmare. So yeah, not great. Haunted by association. Not great at all. Mannis gave the box to his mother for some reason. He thought this was a better plan than, burying it in a cornfield or throwing it into the ocean. But he passed it along to his mother, and apparently she had a stroke the very next day. Almost like it was indeed haunted. The last owner, Jason Haxton, director of the Museum of Osteopathic Medicine, he sealed the Dybbuk back in the box and then hid it from the world. Great move. Finally, nice. We love that. That's a smart move. Number 9. Cursed brick. Perhaps one of the least terrifying items on this list, but haunted nonetheless. The brick from the Borley Rectory, aka a brick from one of the most haunted houses in all of England. The house was originally built back in 1862. It was a house built for the rector of Borley, but after a fire in 1939, it was never the same. It was now haunted. But it was finally demolished in 1944. Gone. Good. Poof. Good. Get this thing out of here. But before its final days, the Daily Mirror printed about this house. Harry Price, a paranormal researcher at the time, he reported sightings of a ghost nun or a ghost car driving by that same property, as well as footsteps and unexplained sounds all around it. So yeah, a little piece of this haunted home still sits in the Warren Occult Museum today. The haunted brick from the old haunted Borley. The haunted brick? I don't know. This one's not scary. I want to see this one in Conjuring 4, I bet. I don't think we're going to see this one. Number 8, werewolf paw. Okay, this one we did see in the live action Conjuring universe. In Annabelle Comes Home, we see in the museum a werewolf paw sitting on a shelf. Then later on in the movie, we see a real werewolf outside of the Warrens. Now, this is most likely a nod to a London case involving the Warrens, which happened in real life, where a man was behaving like a werewolf. Yeah, he would just flip and then become one. Not physically, obviously, that would be kind of terrifying, but he would use his fingers like claws and he would growl and he would attack people on the streets of London, like he would act like a werewolf. This man was William Ramsay, and the Warrens believed that this was the same spirit responsible for transforming humans into wolves back in the day. Yeah, the old classic lycanthropy. We love that. In 1989, the solution was for Ed and Lorraine to bring Bill to the States, where Bishop Robert McKenna performed an exorcism, turning the man back to his regular non-werewolf self. So if you see a paw, still attached, not attached, just don't touch it. I don't know, paws are gross in general. Like a brick versus a paw, Gross. Number 7, Dante and Virgil in Hell. Okay, we're gonna crank it up a little bit. Going back to some artwork, some haunted, spooky art. Here you go. This terrifying work of art was created in 1850 and is currently on display in Paris. This painting is depicting a scene from Dante's Divine Comedy, which is basically about Dante being taken on a journey through hell with Virgil showing him the way. The painting shows a certain scene where Dante and Virgil are witnessing damned souls intertwining in eternal combat. You can only imagine what that looks like, or smells like. Probably not a good one. One of the souls was believed to be a heretic, which is now, how he landed into the underworld. And the other soul we see in the picture, who's, biting his neck, was thought to be a man who falsely claimed another man's inheritance, which certainly is not a good thing to do if that happens in real life. Consult a lawyer, maybe, don't be biting anyone's neck. There's some obvious possessions in this picture. The painting also features some sort of terrifying creature flying in the background. That's always fun, just a cameo, a nice dragon cameo, as well as a lot more damned souls fighting in the fiery pits. Yeah, these pits are often full of souls. Full o' souls. This whole painting is just a stunning piece of art as well as an absolute nightmare, so yeah, art. It's nice and balanced, as all things should be. Number 6, the Nightmare painting. Another one, just while we're on the arts vibe, the artsy vibe. The Nightmare was created in 1781, and there's a lot going on in this one here. The painting shows a woman who is fast asleep with her arms thrown out below her, which is all fine and well and dandy. But there's also some sort of demon, incubus thing sitting on her chest. It's always something, right? You always gotta mess up this nice image, this beautiful, lovely image, which is, a weird thing to look at. The painting is said to display a woman dreaming and also the nightmare she is having at the same time, which is, that's art, that's fun, that's an eerie description. There are red velvet curtains hanging in the background with creepy horse heads poking out of them, which is also said to, help them into the nightmare vibe. The colors represent so much of what's going on in this painting, with the sleeping woman being brightly colored and shown and the rest of the painting being much darker in contrast. It's kind of haunting to look at, honestly. Makes you feel weird looking at it, but you know what? That's art. Number 5. Cursed goat. Yeah, a cursed animal, let's do it. The curse of the billy goat. Can an entire team be cursed? It seems so. I mean, I live in Toronto, home of the Maple Leafs, so, seems pretty cursed in this area. We haven't seen a win in, 96 decades. But the Chicago Cubs curse, that was a huge deal for a long time. The Chicago Cubs curse comes from 1945, when a man named Bill Sionis, nicknamed Billy Goat, he was kicked out of a Chicago Cubs game. Why, you ask? Well, he didn't even get into game 4 to begin with because, well, was he too intoxicated, or did he bring a live goat with him to the game? Maybe a bit of both, who knows? Yeah, Bill brought with him his pet goat for good luck. So after the staff said no, you can't, enter the 1945 World Series with a live goat, of course not, he then cursed the club over and over on the way out, saying the Cubs are never gonna win another game. And that was the game they dropped the ball, figuratively and literally. The Detroit Tigers won, and the curse of the Billy Goat kicked off. It got so out of hand that come 1994, great year, the Cubs had lost 12 games in a row, their worst home start in history. So Sam Sionis went to Wrigley Field, he went back, and everybody was chanting to now let the goat in. And then the Cubs won 5-2, so I don't know. Humans in the 1700s were like, yeah, that woman's cursed, let's just, hang her. And then this is like, he's not cursed, let's bring him into the Wrigley's sports field, let's do it. Oh, how times have changed. Insane. Number 4, The Dark Mirror. Wasn't this the second Thor movie that nobody liked? The Dark Mirror is part of a fun little collection, the world's only mobile museum of the unexplained. Nice. Get your haunts on the go-go. This mirror supposedly doesn't shine bright like a diamond, but instead, this dark mirror has a life of its own. The museum obtained it from the original owner who purchased it at a psychic fair in the Columbus area. Pretty solid place to get something like that, so yeah, it checks out. That same owner said the mirror reflected horrifying visions when gazing into it. Now, according to the museum, visitors also claim to have reported uncomfortable sightings, such as their own corpse when gazing into the reflective glass. Yeah, no spoilers, mirror. I'm only on season 27 of my life. I don't want to see how it's gonna happen. I had a crazy dude downtown tell me which day I was gonna die in grade 11 on a field trip. He was like, in 7 years, you will die. I'm like, okay. And I was scared for 7 years. Was that a curse? I think that was a curse. Number 3, the Busby Stoop Chair. Yeah, we gotta include a haunted chair, whatever. We threw in a brick, some pieces of art. Why not? Let's throw in a Busby Stoop Chair. This chair comes from 1702, 10 years after the Salem witch trials, so take this one with a grain of salt. People made odd choices back then. Women were witches and chairs were evil. Welcome to 1702. Hit that thumbs up. Englishman Thomas Busby had some issues with his father-in-law and he didn't handle them too well, so now he has to be hanged for it. Yeah, you can't just kill people for no reason, Thomas. What is this, 1692? Idiot, read a book. He was hanged near the Humble Inn, pretty ironic, but a chair that was nearby is now said to hold that spirit of one Thomas Busby. Yeah, if you stood on this chair, you were set to die in a frightful accident. If you stood on this chair, you were set to die in a frightful accident. Nice, a nice frightful accident. You can only imagine. The horrors. You're actually at a haunted desk in this office. That's actually where I'm sitting. Kyle, you're at the haunted desk. I don't want to tell you that. So the chair was declared haunted, but did anything actually happen here? Honestly, yeah. Locals said during World War II, airmen from a nearby base came to the pub, and those who sat on it never returned. I mean, may have had something to do with the war, but sure, like I said, grain of salt. But then in the 70s, more accidents were connected, but they still kept it around until 1978 for some reason, yeah. It stayed in the inn for that long, until it was donated to the Thirsk Museum. It's not even a rocking chair either, it looks like an uncomfortable chair. Why people would sit on this in the first place, I don't know. Number 2, the underworld. I'm not necessarily sure if I have to explain this one and like how it's haunted, because the name kind of carries it for itself. This painting by Hans Memling was created in 1485, and it's, as its name hints towards, a little bit terrifying. This is one of 3 double-sided panels that were created, and it features a banner that reads, "There is no redemption in hell." Nice. I always wondered, now we know for sure, thanks. 1485 education. The painting features some sort of demon creature with fangs and bat-like wings, real comforting to see at 2 a.m. And then it features another entire face on its belly, which I've never seen before. That's very artistic, I love that. Its hands and feet are claw-like, and it's depicted stepping or dancing on the backs of people who are in the mouth of some sort of beast. Of course, also engulfed in flames the entire time. Obviously. This whole painting is absolutely terrifying to look at, especially for those who believe in the existence of hell. It would be extremely interesting to know exactly where these inspirations for this piece came from. Is it from a believer, a non-believer? I'm curious, how do you think of something and then go, oh, nice. And then for like 46 years work on this haunting image. You know what I mean? Number 1, broken mirror history. Okay, we gotta talk about why this happens. It doesn't matter who you are, you've heard of this one before. You break a mirror, what do you get? You get a broom first, obviously. Then you get 7 years of bad luck. Has this ever happened to you? If so, what year are you on? I'm on like year 5 and 3 and 7. I'm clumsy, I don't know. Ancient Romans believed that the human soul would renew every 7 years. That's where the whole 7-year thing comes into place when we do this. It takes time to repair the human soul, apparently. That combined with the belief that a mirror's reflection was the only way into the soul, well, now we have one guy historically who feels really bad for breaking a mirror. Therefore we have a curse that lives on. And we still talk about it today. If you break a mirror, you're tearing the soul from the body and you're abandoning it. That's what you're doing. Yeah, you're not messing up your living room, you're abandoning your own soul. Tell your dad that next time you drop something. In Kazakhstan, if you break a mirror, evil spirits will haunt the person responsible for said damage. Nice, that checks out, that makes sense. They say you can't look into the broken mirror pieces afterwards because that is also bad luck as well. So if you break a mirror, you gotta just kind of do nothing about it. I don't know. Just gotta kind of sweep without looking at it. You're like, I think I got them all. I don't know. Just watch your feet, wear flip-flops for a week. I can't look down. There's too many mirrors now, honestly, everywhere I go. It's just reflections. There's like mirrors in the back of people's phones. Ancient Romans had no idea what 2022 would look like. Do phones count? If so, I'm Number 10, hidden beached whale. Look closely at this 1641 landscape from Henrik van Anthussenen. This masterpiece here is titled View of Scheveningen Sands. Now, do you notice anything out of the ordinary? Anything weird about this 1600s beach day going on? Besides everyone wearing pants, obviously so hot. What is everybody looking at, right? Almost nothing. I feel like we're missing something in the photo, like say maybe, I don't know, a beached whale. Turns out after hundreds and hundreds of years, hiding in the painting this entire time was a beached whale. 2014, this was breaking news in the art world. Now at some point after it had been completed, the work of art was painted over. Somebody's like, you know what? I don't like that whale. See ya, ancient Photoshop, gone. So for hundreds and hundreds of years, somebody was looking at this wondering what the meaning behind the photo is. It was a beached whale the whole time. It was haunting them the entire time. They never knew. Number 9, the old guitarist. Any Game of Thrones fans out there? Rewatching it right now. This has some White Walker vibes behind it for sure. The old guitarist is, well, it's exactly what you'd think. It's a painting of an old man hunched over with white hair and, well, he's playing the guitar. This would be a creepy painting regardless, but when Pablo Picasso was putting together this masterpiece back in the early 1900s, he had some tricks up his sleeve. In 1998, researchers used infrared on the painting. Yeah, National Treasure style, how cool is that? And lo and behold, there was a hidden woman. A painting of a hidden woman, not a real life, that'd be scary. But there was a painting just staring back at you. How creepy is that? Another woman was painted underneath the elderly man. So because this paint was naturally fading, she's now becoming easier and easier to see as time goes on. So that's haunting, I guess. Let's move on. Number 8, Madam X. Shield your eyes, we got some scandalous spaghetti straps coming in hot. This painting was deemed too scandalous back in the day. And no, I'm not joking. Madame X, the portrait of Virginie Amelio Avenue Gautreau, was originally painted back in 1884 by John Singer Sargent. Now at first, John made the woman's strap sliding off her shoulder. A little artsy, a little whoopsie strap slip, but back then this was a no-go. No, that was too scandalous for the upper class society around him. So John had to actually go back and repaint the strap back on. Backlash was still so strong after John had sold the painting that he was actually forced to move. Yeah, the guy left Paris because of spaghetti straps. What do we do? Number 7, The Lady in the Grass. A piece by Van Gogh. Let's do it. Patch of Grass was a Van Gogh classic. It was done in 1887. Now, upon first glance, the painting appears to be, well, nothing more than that. It's just a patch of grass. But in 2008, much later, Dutch researchers used an X-ray to take a deeper look into this grass, and they found the portrait of a woman. Yeah, another woman just staring back. That's unnerving, and it turns out around 1/3 of Van Gogh's artwork has old paintings underneath them. It's just taken so long for technology to now allow us to see the hidden picture. Literally, the hidden picture. Joris Deek of the Delft University of Technology, he has the coolest job ever. He peels back layers of paint digitally. That's like Spy Kids stuff right there. Currently, the painting is hanging in the Dutch eastern city Otterlo in the Kröller-Müller Museum. So if you ever go there and take a look at this masterpiece, just know there's a woman looking back at you as you look. Cool. Number 6, Mona Lisa. All right, another woman, this one a little more popular. The 15th century masterpiece from, again, Da Vinci. Let's talk scandals. There's already been hundreds of theories surrounding this painting, like perhaps, she could have been pregnant. Given her stance and the veil over her shoulders, sure, it checks out, I guess. But back in 2011, a clue was found in the painting. Yeah, a clue, like national treasure. I love these painting clues that we're now finding. Silvano Vincetti supposedly found letters and numbers painted into her eyes. Teeny tiny numbers and letters, which is terrifying. I was at my desk earlier and my forehead was touching the screen. I was looking so hard, I had to find it. The L over her right eye means Leonardo, and in the other eye, there's a 72. So we believe so far that this relates to Christianity and Judaism. 7, the creation of the world, and 2, the duality of men and women. Now, meanwhile, I'm over here drawing, those cool S's, thinking that I'm the shit. Nothing, not even close to this level. Artists are insane. Number 5. Cafe Terrace at Night. Upon first glance, you can tell this is a piece done by the fabulous Vincent van Gogh. The blue tones, the streaks. I myself recently did the Van Gogh experience downtown Toronto, and it was mesmerizing. I have a few pints, go look at walls move around. That's good, I guess. While his 1888 painting, Cafe Terrace at Night, looks like a quiet late night summer dream, there's something sinister really going on. Now, I'm not a Van Gogh expert myself by any means, but Jared Baxter definitely is. And back in 2015, Jared brought forth this idea that Cafe Terrace at Night was really Van Gogh's version of The Last Supper. And it checks out. The figure in the center with the long hair, the 12 surrounding individuals, one of which is slipping into darkness. I don't know, it all makes sense now. Can't unsee it. Jared Baxter also believes there are hidden crucifixes in this painting, so that's fun. Keep your eyes peeled, I guess. If you're doing Where's Waldo, amp it up a bit. Number 4, Bill Clinton. We've all heard that clip downloading music growing up. I did not have sexual relations with that woman. Maybe that's in this painting. If you listen closely, you can hear it. Back in 2006, former US President Bill Clinton showed off this beautiful portrait of himself done by the incredible artist John Nelson Shanks. Now, as far as portraits go, this is beautiful. The art is beautiful, yada, yada, yada. But that pose, I don't know, something's off about this pose, right? Well, that's because the shadow on the left side of the portrait is meant to represent Monica Lewinsky. Yeah, we knew it. That's that voice in my head, that LimeWire voice kicking in. We felt her somewhere in here, you know what I mean? The artist himself, again, John Nelson Shanks, confirmed that this was true. He used the dress shape as symbolism surrounding the scandal. Imagine that. Imagine your side chick just haunting you forever in that painting. Ooh. Number 3, The Anguished Man. First of all, aside from its dark history, who would be able to look at this painting? I don't want this on my wall at all. Imagine this in your place. That's like from The Conjuring. That's terrifying to look at. The Anguished Man is a painting with thick, rich, bloody history. It's said to be haunted by the spirit of the artist who created it, which is fun. The artist apparently mixed their own blood into the paint while they were working away, so must have been a Ryerson folk right there. The painting has been passed down through generations of the artist's family, but each owner has reported strange occurrences while in possession of the haunting piece. Fair, obviously, of course you're gonna get haunted. Look at this thing. Some have claimed to hear whispers and moaning coming from the painting late at night, which is the funniest thing and also the scariest thing I could ever imagine. Imagine a moaning painting trying to get a snack out of the fridge. Ew. Shut up. That's so gross. Put it on the floor. Would you spend the night with this painting on your wall, next to you, in the other room, somewhere in your presence? I don't think I could do it. Comment down below. Would you want this painting? Do you like it? I don't know. Are you an artist? Are you a painter? Tell me about your work. Send me your work. Send me a painting. I'll put it up. I don't care. Just don't make it haunted or made of your own blood. And we're good. Number 2, portrait of Bernardo de Galvez. Bernardo de Galvez, he was a nobleman and a military leader who played a significant role in the American Revolution. He was widely regarded as a hero for his efforts to aid the American colonies in their fight against British rule. Now, some believe that there is a curse attached to his portrait. Of course, or else I wouldn't put it in the list. That'd be kind of boring. According to this legend, anybody who looks directly into the eyes of Bernardo's portrait, right there, that one right there, will suffer a terrible fate. So don't look, I guess. Just click like, subscribe, but don't look. That's how we do it. The curse was born during the Spanish-American War when American soldiers apparently looted Galvez's home in Louisiana. They took his portrait as a trophy. Again, how to get cursed 101. That's what you do. Since then, several people have come into possession of the portrait or stared deep into the portrait's eyes, like I have numerous times, and they experienced misfortune. So who knows? That's awesome. I'm glad I whipped together this list. Sorry, editors, you have to look at that photo. One man inherited the portrait from his grandfather and he hung it in his home. Now, not long after that, he lost his job and his wife left him. That's it, a double no-no. Another tale involved a museum curator who displayed the painting and then shortly after he suffered a heart attack. I mean, probably by just looking at it, that would be my guess, but who knows? Could be some cursed artifact history behind it. Even those who have seen photographs of the portrait claim to feel uneasy or experience strange occurrences afterwards. Yeah, that one right there, that photo. That's the one they're talking about. Number 1, erase de Kooning. We have to finish with a nice funny one because it's my favorite art thing ever. I was so excited to talk about this one. This drawing, or erasing rather, was done by the one and only Robert Rauschenberg. Now, Robert wanted to explore whether or not a piece of art could be created by removing marking rather than by adding them. Yeah, sure. Try this on your art teacher next time. Step 1 here was honestly kind of hilarious. First, Robert had to ask his very successful friend, fellow Dutch artist William de Kooning, for one of his brand new, beautiful drawings. And Robert, well, he just erased it. All of it, pretty much 97% of it gone. Pretty much the entire thing. After erasing his art, Robert then added a frame, put it up, and then called it art. What a weird move, what a weird play. Some loved it, some were like, ah yes, this is new, this is art, this is it. While others called the act pure vandalism, which I gotta be honest, I'm leaning more towards that one here. 1953, this changed the game. De Kooning's involvement also didn't help. They're like, why did you give it to him? Did you not know he was gonna erase it? He's like, no, I did. I don't know. Scandals, art scandals, who knew? Kicking off the list at number 10, the Ring of Secinianos. One ring to rule them all. And by rule, I mean curse you and your entire family for ages to come. Yeah, this 12-gram gold ring, for starters, was massive. It was beautiful. Its diameter was 25 millimeters, so unless you were wearing some mighty gauntlet, she might slip off. Big ol' ring. It's like a big onion ring, but a little bit more haunting. The ring had first been found in 1785. A farmer was plowing a field in Silchester Village, which is a village west of London, known for its, grim history, as are most of these things on this list. In 45 AD, ancient Romans invaded that site, and come the 7th century, it was completely abandoned. No one was left there. The ring was mighty. It had an inscription on it as well, a Latin inscription. Of course, always Latin. It read, Senequion vivas in diem. When 1929 rolled around, new details surfaced, or resurfaced rather. The data from the ring matched an excavation that was done in the early 1900s, less than 100 miles away, a place called Lydney. That's where this ring is from. That's the OG site. At the same site, however, a tablet was found recalling the Celtic god of healing and hunting and how his favorite gold ring was stolen. In case you're wondering why this rings a bell, Lord of the Rings was inspired by this legend. The tablet also says, may he who bears the name of Senequianus not have health until he brings the ring back to the Temple of Nodens. So, if you've got it, let's go.
Number 9, the Crystal Skull. Honestly, I'm surprised we haven't talked about this more. A lot of Mesoamerican stuff today, but damn, they got a lot of curses and jinxes on all their stuff. And in reality, that's not fair. All the guy wants to do is loot and pillage other civilizations' treasures, just like my ancestors before me. Nice. Maybe. Well, besides being the second worst Indiana Jones movie, yeah, I said it, I like that one better than the Temple of Doom. Now, if you didn't sit through an hour of Shia LaBeouf, and honestly I don't blame you, basically the skulls are like a Pokemon or Dragon Balls. You gotta catch them all. Only then you will receive a wish where a ghostly outworldish creature will grant you said Wish. In other words, this is what a weekend at Vanessa Hudgens' house looks like. I don't know, she said she can talk to ghosts, so. The only ghouls that she's talking to are the people who think High School Musical holds up as a theatrical release. Seriously, try watching that movie now without cringing yourself into the bottom of a liquor bottle. Speaking of ghosts and liquor, you can buy alcohol in the shape of a crystal skull, because we are modern humans and we don't take ancient warnings very seriously. We will probably feel the wrath of the crystal skull, all thanks to a Canadian Ghostbuster.
Number 8. Pompeii artifacts. Once a thriving, beautiful city in ancient Rome, Pompeii was sadly destroyed in 79 AD. This time it wasn't humans responsible for the massive loss of life. What do you know? It was actually Mother Nature this time around. She got one. Nice. The eruption of Vesuvius buried the ancient city in volcanic ash. Thank you, it took 9 tries. Little do you know, viewer. Excavation didn't begin until much later, during the 18th century, and after a century of careful excavations, the city was finally reopened again to the public. Finally, yeah. Just the place you want to go. Hey. Every year there's many reports of lootings, locals, tourists, you name it. Everyone wants to steal a little piece of Pompeii, literally a little just in their pocket. Yeah, as if raining volcanic ash wasn't bad enough, now there's thousands of people literally stealing your land. Piece by piece. Pompeii archaeological superintendents get over 100 packages a year of said stolen fragments. They return them. Yeah, thieves will send the artifact back with a little note explaining how sorry they are and how it's caused extreme bad luck in the household. Again, might have something to do with the fact that you're a thief, but hey, who knows? Maybe it's that one time. That's why your marriage failed.
Number 7. The Pharaohs of Egypt. It was said that any thieves who dare enter or disturb the slumber of the deceased kings shall be cursed and perish. Well, this applies to archaeologists too, unfortunately. Howard Carter, the famed archaeologist, and his team back in the 1920s had come across the discovery of a lifetime, finding the tomb of King Tutankhamun. You probably heard of him. And kickstarting the study of Egyptology. For anyone in the sciences out there, you know how exciting this is. Trouble is, some folks on Howard Carter's team started to feel a little under the weather. Maybe it was all the excitement from their discovery. Maybe it was the hot African sun and the dry desert, or maybe it was the curse of the Egyptian pharaohs, as some men on his team perished from blood diseases. That's just not okay. So what's the lesson here? Maybe leave these places alone before it starts raining frogs? Huh? Think about it. I don't want that.
Number 6. The Koh-i-Noor diamond. Another list, another cursed diamond. Here we go, buckle up. The Koh-i-Noor diamond translates to Mountain of Light in Persian, which sounds beautiful, but all that glitters is not gold. A Hindu legend says those who wear the diamond will own the world, but will also know all its misfortunes. 186 carats, this thing was a pure beauty. Of course, it was passed ruler to ruler, century after century at that point. The earliest account actually is 1628. The diamond was first in the possession of Mughal ruler Shah Jahan, but once his own son had him imprisoned, the diamond later went to Iranian ruler come 1739. Nadir Shah invaded, taking countless lives as well as the Koh-i-Noor diamond, all their jewels for that matter, not just the one. It was horrible, but later on he was taken out by 15 of his own officers while he was asleep. Come the 18th century, Queen Victoria had possession of the diamond after being used in the Treaty of Lahore, but Queen Victoria wasn't a fan of the shape. Yeah, she's like, it doesn't really fit with my gauntlet to snap people away. So she had it recut. So now it's only 105 carats, it's a little smaller, but it's still beautiful. Since then, the diamond has only been worn by British royal women. Or else we'll explode.
Number 5. Nazca Lines. Imagine the confusion the first pilots, airmen, or anyone who got a good vantage point in the Peruvian desert, and to their surprise, discover some illustrations in the ground. Except, you know, they're massive and no one knows who the heck drew them. Or at least its origins. Obviously it was done by some sort of ancient tribe or civilization, sure, but the grade school process of thought isn't answered. And if you remember, then you remember. You know what I'm talking about. Your 5 W's. Your who, what, where, when, why, and sometimes how. I almost forgot how to count there. That dyslexia is a heck of a thing. I mean, I know how they dug these bad boys in the sand, but hear me out. In those times, there's no planes. The only way you'd be able to see them is on the surrounding foothills. But there's no evidence that these people live close to those drawings, so who were they made for? Gods? Extraterrestrials? The weird guy with the weird hair on the History Channel would tell you so. All I'm gonna say is, anything that's meant for gods and aliens, it ain't meant for us. So keep an eye out in space there. Keep an eye out.
Number 4, ballista balls. I'm not sure if you picked this up yet, but don't take things that don't belong to you. Great, hit the thumbs up for that common knowledge we should all have. Whether you believe in curses or not, leave things alone, and people for that matter, okay? If you want to learn more about Roman artillery, that's why we're here. Don't steal 6th century weaponry. Ever. It's a bad idea. Back in 1989, an archaeological team was brushing up the past near Israeli-Syrian borders, and the remains of an ancient Roman ballista, a massive crossbow, were found. It's exciting, but here comes the bad stuff. 6 years later, researchers found ballista balls, which were sadly the ammo when it came to these massive war machines. And in 2015, these balls appeared in a courtyard outside of a museum in Israel, written from an anonymous thief, imploring others to never touch those stone balls or take them. As, you know, they're cursed. They're all cursed, apparently, full of bad luck. His family apparently left him, this thief, and he had to sell everything he possessed in order to just get by, including those ballista balls. He was gonna sell them and he's like, you know what, no, that's the last thing I own, I'm putting it back. Could be a curse, again, or the fact that he was the thief. Either or. Both not great.
Number 3, Montezuma's Revenge. Yes, that's right, Montezuma's Revenge, a traveler's worst nightmare. I too have succumbed to the horrors of Montezuma's Revenge. And it's always when I gotta do something important, like on a movie set, or with a group of people I'm really trying to impress, especially career-wise. So the rule is no pickled bocconcini peppers before a critical event. However, I'm talking about a different kind of Montezuma's Revenge, not the bathroom kind. I'm talking about his gold. I'm talking about when Hernan Cortez and the conquistadors destroyed the Aztec Empire. Montezuma cursed them. And that applies to his lost gold as well, which in case you didn't know, the Spanish were after. It's pretty much all they were after. So if Montezuma can curse your family trip to Cancun, then surely he can curse a pile of his own gold and jewels. After some were dumped in the lake and others in the desert. I just wouldn't exactly be so excited to go find it. You don't know what might happen if you do. If he can give you diarrhea, maybe he give you vomiting. You don't know. You don't know. I'm pointing a lot in this video.
And number 2, ancient mirror. It doesn't matter who you are, you've heard of this curse before. Maybe you haven't. Maybe you're experiencing this curse right now, I hope not. You break a mirror and what do you get? You get 7 years of bad luck. Has this happened to you ever? If so, what year are you on? I'm on 4 myself. How close are you to the 7-year mark? Because we got your back, okay? Ancient Romans believed that the human soul would renew every 7 years. That's where the 7-year thing comes into play. It's where it all started. It takes time to repair the human soul, right? Combined with the belief that mirror's reflection was the only way into the soul, well, now we have one dude in history who feels really bad for breaking the first ever mirror. Therefore, a curse has lived on. If you break a mirror, you're tearing the soul from the body, and now you're abandoning it. In Kazakhstan, if you break a mirror, evil spirits will haunt the person responsible for the damage. That's a pretty horrible deal. They say you can't look into a broken mirror afterwards, like once it shatters into a bunch of pieces, because that's bad luck as well. So if you break a mirror, you just gotta do nothing about it, I guess. You just gotta be like, okay, and sweep without looking. There's too many mirrors now. I can cut to today. I'm sure ancient Romans had no idea what 2022 would look like. We have phone cases with mirrors on them. We're literally surrounded by mirrors. I broke a studio mirror, a dance studio mirror once. Am I doomed? I feel like I'm doomed.
Number 1, vampire burial. If you couldn't tell, I get a lot of my knowledge from movies, TV, and video games. It's just what raised me, that's how it goes. So you can't blame me when my knowledge of vampires comes from Skyrim and the hit young adult romance novels Twilight. You know what I'm saying? However, what I do know is that they have sharp teeth, they don't like garlic, and will cease to exist if you drive a wooden stake through their heart. However, that's kind of a moot point, as most things would not work anymore if you did that. I know I wouldn't. Some folks in Poland a few hundred years ago were not taking any chances, however. Remains found in Kaldus, Poland were that of anti-vampire graves. Basically, you bury the vampires and you leave a wooden stake in their heart just in case it wants to wake up and eat you, or do whatever they do at night. I don't know, blah blah blah, some of that stuff. Or remove their head entirely. No wooden stake? No problem. Just toss a couple small boulders into the hole. That way, the bloodthirsty menace can't get people. You know, boy, people in the past were so kind. That's so nice.